You guys are just so very dynamic. I want to let you guys introduce yourselves. I don't want to mistake anything because you're just amazing. But I am going to ask you guys for a twist today. So when you introduce yourselves and tell us how amazing you are, I want you to end your intro with one cool or fun fact about yourself that the audience does not know. So let's go ahead. I'll start with you, Cynthia.
Oh, okay. Give me a thumbs up. You can hear me. Excellent. So my name is Cynthia Curry, and I work with the Metro Atlanta Chamber, which is a nonprofit, and we help the whole Metro Atlanta area, 29 county area. And I am the director of Smart Cities Ecosystem Expansion. So I help build up the Smart Cities ecosystem in Atlanta, which we consider everything from racial justice and, inclusive and equitable communities to leveraging transportation to solve our most challenging problems, to just, creating the sustainability and resilient city of the future. So internally, I'm a co-chair of our DEI board at MAC. So I love doing that work. I spearhead and produce our Courageous Media Club and Courageous Conversations there. And I also work on the Atlanta Racial Action for Equity work that I'm going to talk about a little later. So interesting fact, I'm a big cyclist, cycled across southern Spain a couple of years ago, and I have a trip across cycling across Portugal planned for September 2022. So fingers crossed that we'll be able to make that COVID willing. So I'll pass it over.
Wow.
To
Sounds
Bonika.
exciting, Cynthia. Thank you for the intro.
You're welcome.
Oh, no, you're a tough act to follow, Ms. Curry.
Come on.
So hello to everyone and to Tag. It's such a pleasure to be here with these awesome ladies. My name is Bonika Dolores Hooks, and I am the Executive Director of the Women's Entrepreneurship Initiative. And we focus on early stage startups. Doesn't matter what industry, less than 3 years old, and equipping women-led businesses that are early stage startups in their incubator stage. So we help them set the foundations. We do that with a 4-pillar curriculum, and we do it around this mission, which is to elevate, engage, and empower entrepreneurship through women. And we say it that way because we think that women are exceptional. And we think that, having a woman at the table and having a woman in the business and the community helping to drive economic development is a boon for entrepreneurship as opposed to the other way around. And we just think that women mean good business. And so that's what I do. I'm about it because I'm from Atlanta, and I think it's in our DNA to have these sorts of programs that really provide the resources and the pathways and the connections to build a better city. And a fun fact about me, I'm truly a kid of the 80s. I still have my original Mac, my original Mac computer with the Nova hard drive. And it works with my college essays.
That's awesome.
Wow. So a cyclist and an 80s girl. Okay. I knew this was going to be a dynamic panel. And I'm so excited about having this time to talk with you ladies because we're talking everything that I love. Women, technology, and DEI. I mean, it's like a match made in heaven. Exactly. So I'm so glad to be a part of this conversation today. So with that, hi, Shila.
Yay,
welcome.
hi,
Great
Shila.
Timing.
Shila.
Can you hear us?
Oh my God, what is happening here?
This is happening with this. Oh, I love the screen
Welcome
share.
to the world of COVID.
Right?
Yes. Well, Shila, thank you for joining us. It looks like you're trying to get all settled. So I'll give you a few minutes to get settled before I let you do your introduction. Is that okay?
So I'm in. I just see 1,000 screens, but I just want to make sure you guys can see me. You only see one of me.
We can see you and we see your screen. So maybe our tech folks can get that straightened out. But in the meantime, you're not missing anything. We're starting today with introductions because you guys are so amazing. I would love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us a few things about yourself and end your introduction with one cool or fun fact about yourself, Shila.
Sure. So hi, everyone. I'm Shila Nieves, Burney. I am the founder and managing partner for Zane Venture Fund and the founder and CEO of Zane Access, which is our programmatic arm. I spent about 20 years investing in human capital through programs and services for large institutions and public education systems, and found myself in venture capital about 3 years ago. A fun fact about me is that I am an award-winning, I see my camera is on. I am an award-winning project manager, and I won that award by doing a video with Steve Harvey, the actor, the talk show host, the author. Steve was turning 50 years old and had not had a colonoscopy. And at the time, I worked for the American Cancer Society, and we were looking for a face for Black men in a way to encourage them to go get their colonoscopy. So Steve, we did a video with him. We didn't show the actual colonoscopy, but we did a sort of a video of him going into the hospital, and then after that. And so that's a little bit of fun fact for me. And we actually won an award for that video because we had a large impact on Black men in the city of Miami and their colonoscopy exam.
So important.
That is awesome. That is awesome, Shila. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and kick things off with my cyclist, my 80s girl, and my colonoscopy extraordinaire with Steve Harvey. So ladies, since we're talking DEI, I would like to start today off just asking you guys, and please feel free to chime in. This is very informal. But what's the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion in our community and in our workplace?
I'll start. I think that diversity is really a really immoral imperative, right? I mean, it's the right thing to do socially. It's an economic kind of boost to the environment. In the words, Raphael Bostek is our chair of MAC, and he had a quote last year: racial justice is economic justice, and a commitment to an inclusive society means a commitment to an inclusive economy. I mean, you can't have an inclusive economy and you can't have, equality for all until you have, equitable and inclusive community. So I also think, and I think we'll probably get into this a little bit later, but diversity really breeds innovation. And to have a truly innovative kind of company, you really need to have all different types of people at the table and in the boardrooms, because it comes from the top. So that's just a kind of blanket statement. I'll let the other ladies dive in a little more.
Absolutely. I agree with the innovation piece and equitable communities. Monica or Shila, would either one of you like to chime in on this discussion?
Well, I was going to pick up on the innovation piece. I think that diversity is a prerequisite for innovation. I think that that's how you build good teams, to have different points of view and different perspectives. And more than the innovation, I'll speak as as the business voice here. It impacts your bottom line. When you've got diverse perspectives, you end up being more profitable, having better cumulative ideas, and at the end of the day, from a business person's perspective, you just make more money, and that's better for the community.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, diversity just makes good business sense. I mean, at the end of the day, when you're having just one sort of thought, one sort of experience or background experience, I don't want to say it makes for a boring environment, but it definitely doesn't make good businesses when you can bring in folks from disparate backgrounds to kind of help the bottom line, right? Because we've all experienced something different, and so we can add to that sort of conversation around a particular business idea or business concept because of our lived experience. And so for me, that's diversity just makes good business sense.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Shila, since you have the mic right now, with that, can you just talk a little bit about what specifically you guys are doing over there in your workplace to how?
Sure. I didn't catch the last little bit, but I know I can answer that question. So,
I'm sorry.
Diversity drives everything we do, right? So we're investing in diverse founders and teams. And so for us, that means that's a 33% return on investment already, just by having and the data has shown that diverse teams outperform their peers by 33%. Wow. And so for us, we want to tap the overlooked market of diverse entrepreneurs, folks who haven't had an entree into in my position in terms of technology, right? They have not had that sort of opportunity to be a part of this wealth generating opportunity. But when performance, even with the small amount of capital these same entrepreneurs have been shown to outperform their peers. And so that's why it's important for us to bring diverse entrepreneurs and teams to the light to show that, hey, this is not charity at all. This is, again, good business sense. And we want to be able to back these types of entrepreneurs who are coming up with different products based on their own experience, right? Their lack of products, right? So I'll give you an example. One particular company who came through our programming, they created a company for little Black boys in their hair because there was no product in the market for them. So they're tapping into markets and opportunities that their peers sometimes leave out because they think there's no audience or their market for it. And so that's why it's important for us to invest in diverse entrepreneurs and teams.
Awesome. Thank you, Shila. I love that. And I didn't know that 33%. That is amazing. Amazing stat. So thank you for sharing. And hi, I see Christy Brown is able to join us. Hi, Christy.
Hi, Christy.
Hi, hopefully you can see me as well.
We can see you. I'm asking a question, but since you're here, Christy, I would love for you to go ahead and, since you have not introduced yourself to our audience today, if you will introduce yourself and then just in your introduction with a cool or fun fact about yourself. And then I'll go ahead and ask you the question that we're asking right now, if that's okay.
Yeah, fantastic. So hello, I am Christy Brown. I actually co-chair the Corporate Dev Society for TAG, which is part of the reason I'm here. I'm an entrepreneur, impact investor, and I also lead a nonprofit here in Atlanta called Launchpad 2X, which is focused on female founders. My personal thesis is really working with all underserved founders, and that's through resources, mentorship, capital, and education. So that's where I spend the crux of my time. Fun fact, and I was here to hear everyone else's fun facts. So I heard Cynthia, which was exciting because I'm native to Atlanta, which is the first fun fact. And then I am avid in 3 sports, swimming, biking, and running. So I'm a triathlete. Although I don't compete anymore, I still do at least 2 of those sports every day. So
wow.
That's a fact. That's a fun fact.
That's amazing.
Wow. That's awesome, Christy. Well, I definitely feel like an underachiever with the cyclist, a triathlon, someone who knows Steve Harvey, the 80s girl. I definitely feel like the underachiever on the
You're
the
not.
Not
You're
at
not.
But I'm going to go pick up a bike soon so I can hang with you guys.
That's
So,
right.
Christy, the question that we're asking right now is, and I'm glad you talked about Launchpad and TAG and your relationship with both of those organizations. Can you talk a little bit about specifically what you guys are doing either with Launchpad or TAG, really to highlight the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Yeah, well, I think, if we really look at organizations as a whole, and this starts kind of top down and bottom up, right? We see a sense of, not everyone to the right or left looks like us, and there's a huge key component missing: ideas, virtues, the way that we think, and everything, whether it's age, gender, ethnicity, race, or even sexual bias. I think that, everyone has something to bring to the table. And if we're not ideating in and around that, that's just a massive gap. So I try to, kind of look at how do we get each of something involved, and hopefully this discussion eventually doesn't become this discussion. I mean, my goal for the world would be that we're not all talking about DE&I 100 years from now, that we're just all together, right? Working on things, but here we are. And so having that mix of inherent backgrounds, I think, is not just diversity, but we're addressing inclusion. So to fully answer your question, it became apparent to me, both working in my own companies that I've exited and then working inside the corporate culture, that we just didn't have enough really push. It was all about, can we get the numbers higher, but how are we doing that? Again, if I think back to the thesis of looking to the left or the right or in front of me and no one looks like me, I'm probably not going to want to be there. So how do we really change our recruiting efforts? How do we look at more diverse teams, and the theology around setting impact standards for ourselves? And so that's really kind of what led to my rigor and probably my motion around this the last 10 years, where there's just no substitute. So I hope that helps. And, I invite people all the time, please get on this journey next to us and help us propel further.
I'll jump in there. I think that the WE program, we refer to the Women's Entrepreneurship Initiative as WE. I think the program in and of itself embodies the city's commitment to diversity. But we're really focused on developing a pipeline, right? And a pipeline of women that can then move throughout the city, participate in all the programs, build their network, and really execute on their idea and build that legacy or the wealth or the things that they're trying to do. But for the program, we itself and our contribution, I think it's really to help develop that pipeline of women throughout the city and make sure that they're prepared when they do have these other opportunities on the horizon, as opposed to it being a missed opportunity just because they didn't know the rules of the game.
Yeah, I agree. The work y'all all do is so important to Atlanta, and it just drives it so much. I will talk a little bit about, I would say the main thing that the Chamber's doing around this work is our ATL action for racial equity. And we're really kind of going on the incredible history of civil rights and social justice that Atlanta has. And, specifically the Chamber's been working on this for a while. In the 60s, they worked on school segregation. In the 70s, they established the Georgia Minority Supply Council. And this is kind of our, we did work on the hate crimes. So in summer of 2020, they launched ATL Action for Racial Equity, and it really is on the backs of all this social justice work, and it's a collective impact initiative of kind of exactly what Christy mentioned. A lot of people want to take part in this, but don't really know how. So they've set up almost playbooks on how to really become a more diverse organization and how to create a more diverse environment. So it's a multi-year, multi-step plan. I mean, this kind of thing doesn't happen overnight, and we're fully aware of that. And the goal is really to accelerate racial equity by leveraging the scale and the collective power of companies in the space. So we've got playbooks designed around workforce, corporate policies, inclusive economic development, and education that really kind of take steps to help companies reach the next level. So we have emerging, we have progressing, and we have leading. And a lot of the things that's helpful for it is it literally does give almost like a checklist of things that companies can go and evaluate that they're doing, and things that they can add to their repertoire that will help them become more inclusive and help their DEI efforts. It's all around data. There was a lot of data research done on the heels of Pluto, kind of how to best kind of move this collective impact work forward. And they really came up with this strategy of the ATL Action for Racial Equity. And I think right now we have almost 248 companies that are involved in it. So it's going to be exciting. We're going right now and kind of everything's measured, because you can't do anything without measuring it, right? You have to know what you're achieving. So we're in the process now. We launched in summer of 2020, and we just launched our workforce playbook, I think, this past fall. So we're going back through right now and kind of evaluating the data that we're getting from our companies. They're all committed to kind of talking back to us about what they've accomplished, what they've found, how it's changed their business. And so I'm really excited to see, once we get that first round of data, kind of what's happened with it. I think this is one of the really most inspiring things that the Chamber's done, that I've been a part of, and it's been really wonderful to watch it happen. And it really brings to light things like when you're saying economic development, inclusive economic development, like use different suppliers, right? Like use a variety of industry to help you accomplish these goals. So that's some of the work that we're doing at MAC, and it's so far so good. So maybe we'll circle back next year and give a report of how it's gone so far.
And I just want to really quickly give kudos to the Chamber just for Atlanta Entrepreneurship Innovation Week. I mean, just to kick it off. So I was really happy that Zane Access was at the top of that. But that showed the diversity that we have. It went to Venture Atlanta, Stars Battle, A3C. No other city has that much diversity around one particular week where we're all celebrating. So kudos to the Chambers for backing that and making sure that information got out to the masses.
And to everyone on this call was part of that. So kudos to all these ladies for a great ATL Innovation Week that was
Yeah.
filled with diversity. It was great.
Absolutely.
I can't hear you, Bonika. You're muted.
We can't hear you, Bonika.
You're
We
still
can
on
hear
mute.
that, but your picture says you're on mute. I'm sure you're not. Always put it in the chat.
So I kind of see how do we define equity at our organizations? I'll start with me. We talk a lot about equity and inclusion. We always, but the main topic, of course, for us is diversity. And for us, I was going to say what happened. So for us, diversity means not only just race and gender, it's your lived experience. It is the LGBTQ community. It is all of those things that make for a great organization, right? Great organization, right? I'll hear myself. And so that's kind of how we look at it. For us, equity means everyone. If I yes. Okay, so I'm getting a back sort of whatever. But for equity means for us that everyone has access, right? We're all talent is not just limited to certain folks. We all have a certain amount of talent, and being able to give folks access to whether it's the network, the resources, and at the end of the day, the capital. That's what equity looks like for us at our organization.
Well, I'll jump in. You know, I think for the WE program, equity is how we deliver the content, right? I mean, because I think that it's like the same book that works for our male counterpart on how to build your P&L is not the same book that a woman needs to read or should read. And I think that the way that we deliver that content is based off of our network of like-minded women that are leading their own businesses. And so they tend to share information because women are social. And that provides a much stronger foundation for understanding the value of something like your P&L to the growth and the health of your business than a book that you kind of sit in the corner and read. So, you know, it's in the way that we deliver the content to our cohort and to our women entrepreneurs that I think is the definition of equity for us, because it's the same stuff, but we're using a soft touch, which is what you need in business.
Absolutely. And you do it so well.
Thanks, Cynthia.
I would say for us, I mean, we kind of have two worlds. We have internal MAC, right, and external MAC. I'll speak to the internal piece. We obviously do a lot of work around diversity, equity, and inclusion. But what we talk about, ultimately, we want people to feel like they belong, right? So, I mean, you know, we want to make sure that people want to bring their authentic selves to work and that they want to be who they are around the rest of us. So I would say that, you know, all the things that everyone else has talked about, but we really do want to make people feel like they belong in our organization when they're here. And I think that's kind of a product of the DEI, right? When you have the right diversity, equity, and inclusion processes in place, hopefully everyone feels like they belong. And obviously, you know, that's a journey and we're working on it every day, but we work a lot on the belonging piece of it at MAC and making sure that people's stories are heard. We feel like storytelling is very important, that, you know, it's not all facts and figures, even though we do a lot of that at the chamber, but people, telling the stories, and really we encourage a really strong curiosity of other cultures. And I think that's really important. I mentioned that I'm doing the courageous conversations. We have courageous media and conversations, and it's really a way just to see a glimpse of someone else's life and hear another story, and then your heart connects with them. So we try to do things from the heart at MAC internally, and hope that kind of spreads out to the rest of the city.
So pretty easy response for me, sort of. We're 10 years old. Launchpad 2X is, which I'm referring to, which is a platform for female entrepreneurs. And since it is targeted towards women who are growing and scaling their businesses, our equity is paired pretty nicely. That being said, what we found were women really wanted just a peer group to be in with other women who were doing like-minded things, whether it's business scale, raising capital, or so on and so forth. And so that's really our instrument and what our go-to-market is when we talk about how we're supporting equity and inclusion. Inside our organization, we're also all women. So, that's a pretty big metric. But here's what I would say, not to deny my male allies. We have a lot of support across this community, and that includes everyone. It's our male counterparts as well, but we have support across the board, and that's that's not exclusive, it's inclusive. So everyone has a seat at the table when we're growing female founders with their businesses overall.
All right. Okay.
So I went ahead and pulled a couple of other questions from our email. So can you talk about the role that DE&I plays with innovation and technology?
Can you send me a slide of all of the...
I'll start with that, and just from a technology standpoint, because there have been some cases where folks have created products without really thinking about who the end user was going to be. So with some technology, AI is built in, and AI has built-in biases depending on who is creating that particular product. And so diversity is important. When you have folks at the seat of the table, again, with different sort of backgrounds, who can kind of speak up to, well, this may cause a problem down the road. So I really feel like, especially as we go into these sort of facial recognition sort of technology that we're going to, be using everywhere we go, including when we fly. I think the airport is putting in facial recognition. It is important to have folks at the table so folks aren't sort of stopped just because some biases that's within the technology. And so for me, it is critically important that folks have folks who this product may affect at the table talking about that particular product as well. Cynthia?
Yeah, I mentioned it a little bit. I agree with you completely. I mean, innovation is such a huge part of technology, and you nailed it. I mean, the AI emerging technology is a dangerous place right now. So, I mean, garbage in, garbage out, right? So if your algorithms are not written with diversity in mind, then the outcomes will not come out with diversity in mind. It's such a huge thing. And I'm actually encouraged that a lot more companies are talking about that right now. So that is a huge thing. And I mean, it's everything from, you mentioned facial recognition, right? And tones of voices and accents and things like that just can't be picked up. So I think that's a huge piece. And then, as I mentioned before, I think that diversity is required for innovative thought, right? And I already talked about it a little bit, so I won't belabor the point. But if you don't have a diverse table that the ideas are coming from, you won't get a diverse product in the end, and it won't be there to serve all people. And I loved hearing Christy talk about her work, and actually you, Shila, as well. So, I mean, the different products that you get and different packages and different technologies that are created when you do have a diverse company or a diverse, group, team creating them, are going to be more applicable to everyone. They're going to make more money. They're going to be more economically successful, and everyone wins. So I think diversity and innovation go hand in hand, and you cannot have one without the other.
I kind of want to take that question from the other angle, and the way that, for the WE program, we one of our thesis is that, if you have a startup in 2021, you are a tech company. You have to have some type of technical strategy. It's either e-commerce, it's a data play, it's, your storefront is all digital. You've got some piece of technology that gets you to your customer in 2021. And by the same token, that technology can pull you into a more inclusive, pull you into a business, into momentum with your business, right? Which means that you get a seat at the table. Because if you can use an e-commerce store to distribute worldwide, then all of a sudden it's a completely different game for you. And so, we really do try to drive the point that you should think of your business as being enabled by technology for strategic reasons, for just profit reasons, and that's a good thing. So,
Agreed.
I totally agree too, because we were just talking about that today, about how every company has to be a tech company or a tech-enabled company, because we're a global society right now. So when you build a product, you don't build it for you could build it for the folks next to you, but a business concept is to make it a global sort of product that you can reach people from across the world. And so I think that's sort of the beauty of technology.
Agreed. And I mean, Bonika brings up a good point when she brings up e-commerce, which leads my head and my rabbit hole brain to, cashless banking, which is changing the future and really changing the scope of who can participate in the economy. And I think that's another kind of interesting way that DEI is really, rising up and having success, is people that weren't part of the game before are able to participate now. And I think that's a really huge, wonderful thing. And I think it'll continue to change as we move forward.
One of the questions was, what role do partnerships play in expanding and strengthening DEI work in the region? We can talk about that right here, because just our 3 organizations alone, like, that's a partnership that we, I create programs around, of course, capital readiness and financial readiness. Bonika has women who could benefit from the program. The chamber, you guys can offer resources and that sort of stuff. And so I think that's one way partnerships just expand sort of our reach when we sort of work together. So that's how I see the partnerships that I have over at Zane Access and Zane Venture, sort of expanding DEI work here in the region. You ladies want to add something to that?
You go first, Bonika. Is she frozen, or is that me?
No, I think
okay. So I'll go while we wait for her to get unfrozen. So partnerships are the lifeblood of my job. If nothing else, we connect at the chamber. So partnerships make the PPPs work on my smart cities projects that we help, inspire throughout the industry. And I think partnerships, again, are more diverse ways of looking at problems from different angles and bringing different strengths and kind of networks and resources to the table. So to me, partnerships are really the key to moving this kind of work forward. And, teamwork makes the dream work. I mean, I know that's, pretty basic, but partnerships are, really, really, really inspiring, and definitely a strong way to reach DEI goals, and really allow everyone to kind of see the other side, see how other people are doing things, and work together to come to a common goal. So I think you're unfrozen, Bonika.
I think so. The partnerships thing, of course, everything that you're saying is correct, Cynthia. I wanted to talk about DEI and technology and the community that we're trying to build here in Atlanta, I guess under the guise of partnerships, right? And why I think Atlanta is a really special place for this type of work. I think that I think that the new type of the new AI and VR stuff out there that is inclusive, is thinking of all different types of people and taking their language into account. I think that's going to come from Atlanta, because our whole scene is already diverse. And
Agreed.
Because of our DNA, you know what I mean? And I think that I think that some of this work, I think that some of the work that's being done right now is a little bit performative, and people are like, okay, I want to get on the train. But I think that Atlanta, by definition, is a diverse, and so this work will come out of it, if that makes sense.
I agree.
Sure, it definitely makes sense. One of the things that Bonika really wanted to talk about, why are women so important? They're so critical to this DEI discussion.
Well, Monica, this is right up your alley. You start.
Because, listen, women are the center of households, communities, and by extension of economic development for those homes and those communities, and then for all of our society. But women are really, really smart, and we think about things differently. And we're problem solvers, and we've got so many soft skills that are really, really, truly valuable and play out that way in a business environment if given the chance. So I can't speak highly enough for women. I mean, the numbers bear it out. If you look at the data out there, we outperform our counterparts, and it's because of our approach. So I say all of that to say, particularly for the women in the audience, because I think that they're biases in life, right? And I think that women often get told to maybe your light, be quiet, because you're not, you really can't contribute to this business. But that's not true. It's just not true. Women are incredibly valuable. The numbers bear it out. And if you're in this space, know that and walk in that strength is what I would say.
Yeah, I would say look at this panel. I mean, all the women on this panel are shining examples of why women are fabulous in business and why they're important to innovation. We're social spirits has been mentioned. I think that there's again, from the heart, a little heart in most of our action. And we're definitely not afraid to make the checklist and check off all the boxes, right? So, and again, I mean, these are some of my favorite partners on this call, and including Bonika and, Christy, that aren't on the screen right now. But these are some of shining examples of amazing, smart, driven, incredible women in Atlanta that have had a goal and gone for it and accomplished huge, great things. So I say you need no further than just to look at this panel and know why women are fabulous in this industry.
Yeah, and I would just add, I think women have always been at the forefront of change, right? Mm-hmm. And so we are just following in the footsteps or standing on the shoulders of some women who've come before us, who decided when they saw the status quo, they wanted to change it. And so, and that's each of us, right? We are all in this business because I saw, a lack of diverse founders getting funding. And so that's why I stepped up, right? I could have easily gone back to my regular old work and said, that's not a problem that I could solve, but I decided to step up. And I think just in this diversity and equity and inclusion space, that's what we continue to see, women stepping up, finding out how can we solve this problem, right? And we all feel like we're uniquely positioned. Sometimes because we are women, to Monica's point, we run some of everything. And on top of that, we still happen to manage businesses and that sort of stuff. And so I think that's why it's critical for women to be in this conversation. I don't know if that's it for us, if we have any other.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to be wrapping up. So if anyone has any final thoughts, we're going to just all be moderator today.
Okay. So I will go first. So hi, everyone. Again, Shila, Nieves, Burney over at Zane Venture Fund. We are looking to tap into diverse founders and teams here in the Southeast. If you are a founder who has a company that you're building, feel free to visit me at zane.vc, and we'll be happy to talk to you about your company. If you are an individual who's looking for more programming, find us at Zane Access, accesszane.org, and we'll be happy to help you out.
Monica?
Yeah, listen, if the Women's Entrepreneurship Initiative, We Atlanta, that's WEI Atlanta.com. We are about to open up applications for our 4th cohort. If you know any women-owned companies in their early stages, less than 3 years, tell them to check out our website, our socials, sign up. We will be announcing that cohort at the top of the year. And I encourage just all of you guys to follow your dreams, use a strategy, find your tribe, and keep the faith.
That's fabulous. And I will say, I don't if Bodkin can put the email link that I put in, I encourage everyone to take part and get your company to participate in the ATL Action for Racial Equity Plan. It's atlracialequity.com. We have almost 250 companies in it so far, and you can be a part of making a difference in Atlanta and creating the kind of community that we want to have and want to raise our grandkids in. So I encourage everyone to take a part in that. And if you have any questions on it, then you can reach out to me. And I think that's it for us. So I'll wrap us up and thank everyone for coming. And I like this collective moderator concept. Thank you, Shila, for hopping in, and Monica for hopping in.